Everyone told me public land bucks don't grow past 120 inches, that mature deer only exist on private ground where nobody hunts them. But last season, I watched a 160 class giant walk past my tree stand on opening morning of gun season on the most pressured public land in my state. And here's what nobody tells you. Public land actually produces more opportunity for giant bucks than private. If you know the one thing every other hunter is doing wrong, I'm about to show you the three-step system that changed everything for me, including the counterintuitive strategy in step 2 that sounds insane but works every single time. Let's get into it. The public land advantage. First, let me destroy the biggest myth in whitetail hunting. Private land is easier, right? Wrong. Here's what happens on most private ground. The same hunters push the same deer down the same trails toward the same stands year after year. Those bucks learn the pattern by their second season. They go completely nocturnal. But public land, it's chaos. 50 different hunters with 50 different strategies, and this is where the magic happens. Because while every other hunter is thinking like a crowd, you're going to think like a ghost. The bucks on public land aren't pressured, they're educated. And educated bucks are predictable once you understand their survival pattern. I'll show you that pattern in a minute, but first, you need to know where these giants are actually living. And it's not where you think, the deep, dark secret. Step 1 is what I call the mile rule, and it's going to separate you from 95% of public land hunters immediately. Here's the data. Studies show that 90% of hunters never venture more than half a mile from their vehicle. Most stay within a quarter mile. But here's the part nobody talks about, and this is crucial. You're looking for the nastiest, most miserable piece of cover that makes you say no deer would ever live in that. Bucks don't hide where it's comfortable. They hide where you won't go. Last season, I found a 6-acre hellhole of multiflora rows and downed treetops that you literally had to crawl through. I found 7 rubs on the edge and 3 scrapes inside. That spot produced a 150-inch 9-pointer on October 29th. Now, getting deep is only half of step 1. The second half determines whether you actually see these bucks or just spook them into the next county. And that brings us to the scouting mistake that ruins most public land hunts before they even begin. The invisible approach. Step 2. Master the off-season scouting and in-season entry system. Here's where everyone screws up. They find the perfect spot in July, hang a stand in September, and wonder why they never see the buck that was living there. You just showed him exactly where you hunt. The system that works: scout aggressively in February through March when bucks are recovering and lazy, find the bedding, the rub lines, the scrape trees, then get out and don't go back until season. But here's the counterintuitive part I mentioned earlier, the thing that sounds crazy but changed everything for me. When season opens, you're not hunting the spots you scouted. You're hunting the escape routes from those spots. Think about it. Opening week of public land season, 50 guys are going to push into the areas where they found sign. Every single buck in those areas is going to relocate within 48 hours, and they're going to move to one of 3 types of transition zones. The first type is what I call secondary staging areas. These are the backup bedding spots, 200 to 400 yards from primary bedding, usually in slightly more open terrain, that lets them see danger coming. Second type is pressure funnels. Natural pinch points between the pressured zone and true sanctuary that bucks filter through at last light. Third is saddle sanctuaries, high spots or ridges that let them monitor multiple approaches. Find these transition zones between where everyone else hunts and where nobody can access, and you'll intercept bucks that other hunters pushed without even knowing it. I've killed 3 mature bucks in the last 4 seasons using this exact approach, and they all happened within the first 5 days of season. The timing window. This step is all about timing, and this is where you can actually gain advantage on private land guys. Most public land hunters think their only chance is opening day when bucks haven't been pressured yet. That's opportunity window number 1, and it's legit. But there are 2 more windows that most people completely miss. Window 2, the reset period, days 7 through 10 of the season. By this point, most weekend warriors have given up. Pressure drops by 60 to 70%. Bucks start moving again cautiously. They'll return to their patterns but on a shifted schedule, usually 30 to 45 minutes later than preseason. If you can hunt midweek during this window, you're basically hunting unpressured deer again. This is when you go back to those primary areas you scouted. The bucks have returned and you're the only human there. Window 3 is the golden ticket, the lockdown phase of the rut. This typically happens in early to mid-November depending on your state. When bucks are with hot does, they don't care about hunting pressure. They don't care about access points or other hunters. They're locked on one thing. This is when you hunt the absolute thickest, nastiest bedding cover you found. Not the edges, inside it. I'm talking about setting up 20 yards from where you think they're bedded. It's aggressive, it's uncomfortable, and it's where the giants are breeding does while everyone else is sitting on field edges wondering where the deer went. I arrowed a 140-inch 8-pointer at 11 a.m. on November 9th last year, 30 yards from his bed, because I was willing to go where the pressure pushed him and where the doe brought him. But none of this matters if you make the fatal mistake that tanks more public land hunts than anything else: the scent and silence protocol. The final piece. On public land, you get one chance, maybe two if you're lucky. Mature bucks will tolerate a lot of human activity at distance, but the moment they smell you or hear you in their space, they'll relocate or go nocturnal. Your scent control and noise discipline has to be military grade. I'm talking shower with scent-free soap the night before, store all clothes in sealed bags with earth or pine scent wafers, rubber boots only, sprayed down with scent eliminator before every walk in. Approach from downwind always, even if it means a 30-minute detour. But here's what nobody emphasizes enough. Sound discipline matters more than scent on public land. Bucks expect to smell humans on public ground. They smell hikers and mushroom hunters and other hunters all the time. What they don't expect is to hear you in their bedroom at 5:30 a.m. Move like you're stalking, every step calculated, no sticks breaking, no brush rattling against your pack. I use a headlamp with a red filter at minimum brightness, and I stop every 30 yards to listen for 5 full minutes during my entry. The best public land hunters I know take 45 minutes to go half a mile. They're not in a hurry because they know that one snapped branch could blow out every deer within 300 yards. And once you're in position, you're a statue. No phone checking, no stand adjustments, no thermos rattling. You're a predator on a kill mission, and predators don't make noise. Do this right, and public land bucks will walk past you like you're part of the tree. I've had deer feed within 10 yards of my stand and never knew I existed. Not because of my gear, but because I hunted them the way they needed to be hunted. So let's recap the system. Go deep, 1 mile minimum into the nasty stuff nobody wants to hunt. Scout in the off-season, but hunt the transition zones during pressure. Time your hunts for the 3 windows when public land actually gives you an edge. And move like a ghost with military-grade scent and sound discipline. This is the exact system I've used to arrow 9 public land bucks over 130 inches in the last 6 seasons, including 2 over 150. It works in every state, on every type of public ground, because it's based on how mature bucks respond to pressure, and that behavior doesn't change. The question is, are you willing to do what 95% of hunters won't? Are you willing to walk farther, hunt harder, and sit tighter than everyone else? Because if you are, public land isn't a disadvantage. It's the ultimate proving ground, and the bucks you kill there will mean more than any high fence harvest ever could. If this helped you, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next breakdown. I've got a video coming next week on the exact gear setup I use for those deep public land missions. What to bring, what to leave behind, and why less is always more. Now get out there and go kill a public land giant. They're waiting for someone who hunts different. See you in the next one.